Domina spectatissima auctoritate mihi commissa admitto te ad gradum doctoris in juris civili in nostra universitate honoris causa.
How do I look, Ma? Messing with my hair, you realize that? That's all right. For today, that's all right. Je suis très fière d'être ici avec vous, Mr. Principal, Mr. Chancellor, family, friends, faculty, and of course, the stars of this show, graduates. I hope it feels good. I have deliberately not come here with notes because, as I said to those who wanted to see my notes before today, I want to go with the moment. I want to keep it real. I want to be in the spirit of things and in the spirit that you are exuding this afternoon. And I'll get to what that means in just a moment, because I have a deal to make with you. Truly, you're going to have to uphold your end of the bargain in order for me to uphold my end of the bargain. But in order for me to get to that deal, to explain it to you and to offer it sincerely to you, students, I need to tell you a story. It's not a story, I have to say, that I came here prepared to talk about. But I know that a couple of the other honorands this year gave so much of themselves as to reveal something deeply real about their lives. And so I'm going to follow in their footsteps. You heard your chancellor talk about living with integrity. What does that even mean? People throw around that word integrity as if they actually know how to define it. Sure, there's an element of honesty in it, okay, transparency, maybe some accountability, but what does that mean to you right now, in this moment, facing, let's be real, a little bit of uncertainty and a whole lot of zigs and zags ahead of you? Let me tell you how I came to understand what integrity means. And I learned it the hard way, by not having it. A few years ago, I was putting the finishing touches on my book, my latest book, Allah, Liberty, and Love. Now, you should know that I'd come to this latest book after a decade and more of touring the world with my first book, The Trouble with Islam Today. I had circumnavigated the globe more than once. What I thought was a book tour had turned into a decade-long global conversation, mostly with a new generation. And I'd come to appreciate that what I was writing about, the need to ask questions, the need to take thoughtful risks to the point where you are going to incur disapproval from some friends, from some family, from some members of your profession, but that if you don't ask questions, you're never gonna grow. That was my message in that first book, and I came to see that it doesn't just apply to my fellow Muslims. It applies to everybody. That's what the kids who were coming to my events were there to tell me. Irshad, it's not just Muslims, it's all of us. And I realized that there was a bigger message here than just ijtihad, than just independent thinking within the Islamic tradition. The bigger message was indeed, as Jamie pointed out, moral courage. Doing the right thing in the face of your fears. Well, guess what, friends? I didn't have it. Here's what I mean. In the lead up to the release of that second book, put yourself back in January 2011. The book came out in June 2011. January 2011, do you recall? The Arab uprisings happened. And media began to call me left, right, and center, asking for commentary. I was still writing, but I thought to myself, if I don't do these interviews, these producers and these editors will not give coverage to my book. You see, if I'm not there for them, they're not going to be there for me. And so I began to do interviews daily, and then more than one every day, to the point where one night I was walking off of a TV set in New York, thinking to myself, am I really here for this? Is this my purpose? To give soundbite after soundbite after soundbite? Is it truly what I have been called to do, what I've been put on this earth to do? Merely to shove my face into a TV screen, talk as if I know what I'm actually saying, pretend that I can predict what the outcome of these democracy movements will be? The answer was no. That's not what I was put on this earth to do. But again, I was coming from a place of fear. But it got worse. Because I was coming from a place of fear, I stopped sleeping. My conscience was catching up with me. And by the way, those uprisings kept on going. And so did the media requests. Flying all the way to LA, twice in 3 weeks, there and back, back and there and back, back and there, to do Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. I wore myself out, I continued not to sleep, and then I stopped eating. My mother actually said to me at one point, "This is getting ridiculous. I can see your bones protruding through your chest." Somebody at a media outlet said to me, "Irshad, I'm not sure if I should ask this, but are you on a hunger strike?" And I laughed. I thought that was funny. It didn't occur to me that she was trying to send me a message. In one ear, out the other. Boom, boom, boom. More deadlines, more interviews, get it done, go back to work. And then the book came out in June. And it was the third day of my US tour. And I was sitting in the makeup chair at NBC, getting ready to do the biggest interview of my life. And I remember on the TV monitors up above, yada, 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 yada. Morning show chit-chat. And everything that I thought to myself about my purpose on this earth came rushing back to me. And I remember exactly what I was thinking in that moment. What I was thinking was, that's you up there, Irshad. Are you proud of yourself? You're just here to fill the beast. All you are is filler. If you don't show up today, they don't care. They'll get somebody else. What's unique about what you're doing here right now? What are you bringing of who you really are? What do you have to say that nobody else can? And the answer was nothing. And then I passed out. It's true. And when I came to a few minutes later, all I remember was people in my faces saying, "Do you know who you are?" You know that feeling, but for different reasons. Don't think I don't know about bishops. Do you know who you are? And I remember thinking to myself, now I've been accused of having an identity crisis more than once, but this is ridiculous. Do I know who I am? At that moment, I didn't. But my conscience was reminding me of who I was. And I was thrown onto a gurney and raced to the emergency room of NYU Medical, where I stayed on that gurney for the rest of the day. My physicians, one in Toronto and one in New York, contacted each other. And then the physician who had served me longer called me to say, "Here's the deal, Manji. If you don't quit your book tour, we quit as your physicians." She had known me for 20 years. She'd known me not to take her advice. She wasn't going to let me get away with it this time. And so there I was, having no choice but not only to quit my book tour, everything that I had worked for the last several years, out of fear, but also having to cancel the signature event of my US book tour. 1,000 tickets down the tubes. And people on Facebook and Twitter wanting to know, what happened? And what do you say to that? I realized what had happened, and I promise I'm wrapping up. I had operated from a place of mere identity, namely the role that I was supposed to play, the role that the media wanted me to play. I was their go-to Muslim gal. And so things I wasn't passionate about, geopolitics, for example, as opposed to human rights. Human rights I am desperately passionate about. Geopolitics, anybody else can address. They didn't need me. And yet that was the role I was playing when I agreed half-heartedly to all of these interviews. That was identity. What had happened when I passed out is that my conscience had caught up with me, and I had graduated from identity to integrity. Integrity being not the role that you play based on other people's expectations, but who you really are and what you really need to bring to the conversation, and that nobody else can say in your place. That is what I had graduated to. And I have never looked back. As my family now knows, I've put on a few pounds. I'm sleeping better. Not well, just better, but it is a journey. And I have to tell you that the universal message of moral courage, do the right thing in the face of your fears, is a message that I am challenged personally to live every single day. Which brings me to the deal. Here's my offer. This summer, all summer, I will be taking your questions on Twitter about developing direction, cultivating integrity, finding purpose, and discovering meaning. I know you have questions, graduates. I know that for all of the celebration, it's scary too. And I want to equip you with the benefit of both my experience and my teaching. So tweet me your questions about how to do any of this. Cultivate integrity, find purpose, discover meaning, and be who you truly believe you are called to be. My Twitter handle is Irshad Manji. And I look forward to engaging in deep, 140 characters at a time, conversation with all of you in the spirit of moral courage. God bless you all. Thank you.